Welcome to the Full Nelson. Today I'm going to be reviewing this set of GearWrench 120 XP flex head ratchets. They're the main focus of the video today. I have some other regular non-flex head ratchets here that I'm going to just have here for comparison's sake. The main reason is the length difference I wanted to show you. So one of the things that's neat about this 4-piece ratchet set, 120 XP ratchet set, comes with 2 3/8, 1/4 inch, and 1/2 inch drive ratchet. To help you understand size-wise what you're getting, here are some typical 1/2 inch ratchets compared to this flex head ratchet. And as you can see, the handle on this thing is just massive. It's the length of some shorter breaker bars. And so you can get a great deal of leverage with this flex head ratchet. That's one of the things I really like about this set. I actually find that most of the time nowadays, I tend to reach for this parts of this flex head ratchet set as opposed to regular ratchets. I don't use these much anymore because I don't like getting halfway into a job and then finding out, oh man, that's an awkward position or an awkward thing, and wish that I had a flex head ratchet. And so now I've got to go trade one of my fixed ratchets for the flex head. So I just almost always just start and do the entire job with the flex head ratchet. So lengthwise, for comparison, I just showed you here's 1/2 inch versus the 1/2 inch. Here's the 3/8 longer handled one, and then there comes with 3/8 stubby, and then here's your 1/4 inch. And as you can see, all of these are longer. This Tecton ratchet here is pretty darn close to the same size as this flex head 1/4 inch, but the 3/8 and the 1/2 inch are considerably longer than what a regular ratchet would be, so you can get a great deal of leverage. I like those long pattern ratchets. Now, those can be very beneficial, and they can also cause you some grief. They are beneficial as long as you don't overdo it, and they can cause you a lot of grief if you take like a 3/8. This is probably the one that might get most people into trouble. You can put an awful lot of torque on a 3/8 inch socket with the ratchet this size, and the fasteners that you're typically turning with the 3/8 inch size ratchet, many of those fasteners are not going to be very large, so you could easily strip your fastener, snap the heads off of certain size bolts, things like that with the ratchet that gives you this much leverage. So you've got to use your head when you're using something like this, and if you need to get a good feel because of the leverage, you use the length of it to break something loose, and then when you go to tighten it down, to not risk tightening it too much, maybe choke up on it a little bit so you can get a little bit better feel for just how much pressure you're putting on that fastener. But anyway, so the designation 120 XP is because there are 120 clicks or positions in this ratchet head for every 360 degrees that this stud or this thing turns, okay? So that's why they get that designation. The way that they accomplish this, and the way traditionally it used to be, is you could have a coarse tooth ratchet, which was typically stronger than a fine tooth ratchet because the teeth would have more material between the teeth. And the way that they're able to, so if you had a really fine tooth ratchet, you might have a ratchet that was also more prone to breaking than a coarser tooth ratchet. The way that they have gotten around that nowadays is they've started using 2 pawls inside, and the pawls are a spring-loaded mechanism in here that pushes this half circle shaped set of teeth against the teeth of this ratcheting mechanism, and that's what engages your ratchet. Now, dual pawls, instead of having one half circle with X amount of teeth and so much material between those teeth to handle the torque that you're putting on it, they are now doing dual pawls in ratchets like these, or in this ratchet here, which is the SATA 120P. Same concept. And what they do is they'll take a pawl like this, if this represented the teeth of your pawl, and they're taking another pawl and they're offsetting them so that one set of teeth or the other are engaging depending on where that's riding, and they'll move in and out like this and engage that surface depending on how they're riding on that. So that gives you a really fine degree swing arc, I guess is what they would call it. On here on the back, you can see on the Saddle 120s, and same thing with these GearWrenches. It's supposed to be 3 degrees, okay? And you can see you only have to move that ratchet just a very little ways to engage the teeth. So if you're working in a tight space, that's going to be advantageous for you, and it's going to allow you to turn a fastener off rather quickly. And that dual pawl design is going to allow you to maintain the strength of a coarser tooth ratchet, because the pawls still have plenty of material while at the same time achieving more positions in the ratchet head. Now, the downside with some of these designs that some will talk about is the backlash, or I believe that's what lots of people call it. That's what I'm going to call it for the sake of this video, but how much resistance it takes to activate the clicks on the ratcheting mechanism. Some ratchets takes quite a bit of force, and so if the fastener's not on very good, you'll go to turn it backward to engage the ratchet to tighten your fastener, and it's just turning the fastener off because there's so much resistance on the teeth of the ratchet. I have not found that to be a problem with these ratchets. In part, that's probably because of the break-in process that I do with these. I do the same thing with ratcheting wrenches and stuff like that. I'll take these things and I'll chuck the end of them into a drill, like I'll hook an extension on, chuck the end of the extension into a drill, or even just grab directly onto this with your drill chuck. And I will make it rotate in a direction that will activate we'll spin this loose. I'll soak these things in like synthetic motor oil, pull them out, wipe them down real good, and like I said, then I'll run them for a few minutes one direction, a few minutes another direction. After you do that, you have a really well broken in ratchet. And so that's what I do break-in process wise with these. And like I said, I do something similar with my ratcheting wrenches. So these engage, the pawls in these engage very easily. I don't have to put hardly any pressure at all to engage those. Now, the way the flex head works on these is they have a spring-loaded detent that's in the handle here that's embedded, and the back of the wrench itself has these, or back of the head of the ratchet here has these little grooves machined in there. And so when you move that spring-loaded detent is catching those different positions in your flex head, and it holds it there. Now, they make other flex head ratchets that instead of engaging that way, they have a detent, but they also have an extra locking mechanism, so you can lock them into a position and use it as if it was a fixed ratchet. I know that appeals to a lot of people that I've heard talk about flex head ratchets for a variety of reasons. One of them is people are always worried that when they're using one of these one-handed, if they're really putting a lot of pressure on it and they slip an awkward position or something, that they're going to bust their knuckles on a vehicle or something like that. I've never had that happen to me. I think that's probably more user error than anything. If you can hold this with one hand and run this with the other hand, you're going to keep that from happening. Also, if you don't twist the fastener when you're putting pressure on it to one side or the other, it's going to be less likely to collapse. I've just never encountered that issue with these. I can see how if you were doing it one-handed in a tight space, that might be a possibility, but again, you just have to be careful about the way that you're applying pressure to the ratchet, and if you're careful, I don't think you're going to run into a problem. I never have busted my knuckles with these. So anyway, that's the way that the flexing head mechanism works on these. These are incredibly strong in the tests that I have watched that people perform. Before the ratcheting pawls and ratcheting mechanism gives way, you will usually snap the end of this ratchet off. And that's pretty common nowadays. Most ratchets are built beefy enough that you're usually going to snap the end of the ratchet off before you're going to actually get those teeth to slip or destroy them. I have seen some cheaper ratchets. I know some of the Huskies I've seen that we use at work. Some of those I've seen where the teeth actually stripped in them, and you'll go to engage it, and there's certain teeth you can tell are just totally stripped out because it doesn't work right. So anyway, that's not going to be an issue with these. Overall, these are excellent ratchets. I've used them for a lot of years, and they are my main go-to ratchets. I almost always reach for these. One other thing I was going to mention that is a cool feature with these is if you need to put a fastener on really quickly, and let's say you're working in a space where you've got 360 degrees of room, but you've only got room about this far on the handle. You can use the stubby or something like that, but you can also take a longer handled one and you can put it on your fastener this way, and you can spin it like this to get that fastener, you know, to turn the fastener on real quickly, and then you can work in your limited space to get it torqued to the, you know, higher torque specs that you might need. So anyway, overall, these are excellent ratchets. Now, in terms of price, when I purchased these, and I wished I'd purchased another set of them because the price was so good back then. I don't know if this is due to inflation or supply chain issues or what, but I paid like $85, I think, for this set. I've seen them as cheap as like anywhere from $80 to $90, and that used to be pretty common, but I looked at them the other day and this set was like $165. Do I think they're worth it for $165? Maybe if you're a mechanic or something. I don't know. My personal opinion is I think the GearWrench, I think they make a 90 tooth version or something that's just a single pawl design, if I remember correctly, that those are probably going to perform for most people in a way that you wouldn't even be able to discern the difference between the two. And I think they can still be had for like $90 or $100. So much cheaper than what this set would cost you nowadays. Given that price discrepancy, I would probably steer people towards those instead of these. But if these come back down to earth price-wise and they're only $10 or $15, $20 more than the non-120 XP version, then I'd say they're probably worth it if you want that smaller swing arc of engagement for your ratchet. Anyway, I think they're a great tool. That concludes my review or overview of this GearWrench 120 XP flex head ratchets. If you guys have any questions or comments or any experience of your own with these ratchets or other ratchets of similar design that you would like to share with me or any of the community that might be shopping for tools, feel free to leave that in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.